All right, now we're going to move on to Team 8, which is led by Eric, which is a coordination Kaizen. So I think you said you were going to give it to Amy to share screen. All right, Amy.
All right, let's see if I can get this right. I want to start the slideshow here. And okay, am I showing my presentation or the workspace?
Presenter mode.
This works too.
I see an octopus juggling. Is that
Let me get my doing this wrong. Let me get this right here. Let's see. Let's
if we're
try
supposed to be
this.
seeing an octopus juggling? I saw that.
Okay. Now are we in the right way? Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're good.
Awesome. Okay, and then the first thing I'm going to do is in the chat. I'm going to copy this in. I'm going to put in Jamboard.
So Amy developed a Jamboard for the Q&A session. So when she pastes the link in, everyone can kind of click into that and see if the link works for editing.
Okay.
Perfect. All right, let's start. Welcome everyone to the last and final Kaizen overview. It's kind of hard to follow James's group, but I believe that we have probably the most interesting topic, probably the best topic of the whole Zoomsite. So we are Group 8, dealing with coordination. Let me introduce the team members. We have Amy Hensley, Damian Valencia, Daniel Yepes, Daryl Johnson, Denisa Simpson, Jose Sale, Joshua Perez, Mark Reichert, and myself, Eric Tu. And again, this is the Q&A Jamboard. We have it in the link. So if it doesn't work for you, just let us know, but it seems like it works. Thanks, Andrew. So this is our Kaizen scope. Just to paraphrase it a little bit, with more and more people working on the same project, effective communication to hand off information is very important. So we were supposed to discuss issues relating to coordination within the engineering group to develop a problem statement that we would like to tackle. So in our first initial meeting, we all met in person and developed a process map. This is a digitalized version of it, flowing from sales to fabrication. We listed out all the issues at each stage and possible solutions. And after multiple sessions reviewing this process map to select a focal point, we decided to tackle the earlier stages, which is Team Esley or around Jumpstart.
This is our Kaizen Scope sheet, and it's taken a lot of trial and error to get the current situation and problem section defined. We're still not sure about them. We're still working on it, and it's not quite where we want it yet. But we've narrowed it down for now. If there are errors in the takeoff Esley setup phase, it will cause errors for several downstream processes. That phase provides data for the fabrication team, data for the 3D modeling team, and the 2D Revit details, and the transition sheets for the shop drawing packages. What happens prior to Team Esley setup process, and what should be reasonable expectations from the previous team? In this case, is Jumpstart.
So part of our discovery process was with Team Esley. We met with Esley several times to try to understand where the problems were that her team was encountering. Where's the waste? Where's the redo? We created a Jamboard based on what we were derived. Esley created videos for us to help us explain what can cause the slowdown, as well as a wish list from Jumpstart. We made an attempt to study Esley's tact time based on the Trello cards, and we tried to go all the way back to 2017, but it wasn't really scientific because the cards varied, and Damien's going to talk about that a little bit more. We gained more clarity as we continue to try and understand the Team Esley workflow and the final product. So again, we created that Jamboard to see the whole picture of all of these issues, everything in pink. This is all stuff we were trying to figure out. to understand.
Thanks, Amy. So the other half of the puzzle for our discovery process was looking at the Jumpstart process. So with myself being the representative of Jumpstart in our Kaizen team, I helped everyone understand Jumpstart's standard workflow and drawing packages, where and how they are involved. And what you see here is a Jamboard of our current state Jumpstart 3 profile set production process from beginning to end, laying out all the major steps, and also indicating any possible problems and opportunities present. And we also tried to narrow down the wish list from what we gathered and learned about Esley's workflow and organized it into 3 groups: format, design, and content. And this was one of our first run-throughs of laying out that, that checklist. We also met with the rest of the Jumpstart team to review the expectations checklist, concept, and content, and received a lot of great comments and feedback, as what you could see here.
All right, thanks, Josh. Challenges. I'm gonna go over some challenges. I think the hardest thing that we had to go through was finding out what department needed the most coordination. So narrowing the scope to find the starting point, finding the team with the most issues that can flow through every department. So yeah. Finding the best way to word out our Kaizen scope statement. Understanding all details and workflow of the Team Esley process. Understanding Jumpstart workflow and focus and what a realistic expectation should be from Team Esley downstream team. Various interpretations of the information we have been gathering.
All right, thank you, Daniel. Some other challenges that we found, one was keeping up with the improvements that can affect our goals. So like up to drafting standards, like who's gonna be in charge of that. Another one is using the Trello cards. This was a big one. We spent a lot of time going back to the beginning of Trello when we started tracking how much time it took from beginning to end for Team Esley to do a job. And it wasn't like Amy mentioned, it was not accurate because sometimes the cards will give like the processes will be done in one day when in reality was not the reality. Done in one day was several days. So it was a little hard to figure out like the exact time, but we were able to find some project that helped us have an idea roughly of what it was, how long it takes. The question of who would have ownership of the checklist. So we are trying to figure out a checklist that somebody will make sure to enforce it, and we're trying to figure out who's going to be in charge of this. Also, understanding common terms. This is where for that Thursday meeting, Jamboard came into play. We have a lot of terms for the same thing, and sometimes the communication is not there because we are talking about the same thing but not the same term, so it gets confusing sometimes. And then also understanding the threshold for the sign changes. So what's in the process when there are the sign changes, and if it's on our scope as well.
Thanks, Damian. Our status and current progress is as follows. We've gained a better sense of Jumpstart and Team Esley's processes and where the issues are that cause defects to be passed along. We have come to the realization that a checklist of expectations could be utilized between Jumpstart and Team Esley, and we have begun a draft version. We are getting the sense that all teams and departments should have an expectation checklist, which would be determined by the needs of the downstream team. And we are getting to the truth of the problem.
Future state or have more to do is reviewing the videos of Esley's gave us to get more specific items for this checklist. show more expectation checklist between Jumpstart and Team Easley for review and comment. Continue to meet with Jumpstart and Team Easley to develop a communication process, and who should own the expectation checklist between Jumpstart and Titan and Team Easley, I'm sorry. And who will be the qualified person to determine who owns the list. Scope creep, is this up to our Kaizen Scope? Look at the expectation between other teams, and scope limited to production team, coordination, bid model, design, setup and drafting, and fab team. And develop standards on how to develop checklists.
Benefits we are finding as we work through the Kaizen. The need to clarify terminology so all teams understand each other. Realizing how important communication is to being a lean company. Clear instructions. Work plan clears up confusion to get work done. Common vocabulary. Understanding the many terms used in industry that describe the same thing. We came up with the idea of trying to Jamboard to share in the engineering meeting with great results. Checklists can help a team stay organized and focused on the goal. There is a book on how to do a checklist at Amazon.com.
Okay, so let's go to the Jamboard and see.
Want me to
Is there any
stop share,
question?
Eric? You want to share it?
Yeah, I can try.
I can.
Yeah, it's probably better if you do it, just
Okay.
in case I might get disconnected.
All right. Oh, crickets.
No question, perfect. And
It's a very ambiguous thing that it's like, it's a, yeah.
any live questions?
Can the common terms be added to the knowledge base? So I know when we told Steve that we were going to be making the Jamboard, and there's, you know, he said there's, and him and Kendall, everybody was saying, you know, there are some other places where we do have common terms and stuff like that. So I think he was waiting until that was done, and Steve can jump in on this, but there is an intention, I believe, to collect all of this stuff that we've been coming up with and get it into one place.
Yep. You don't have to use the Jamboard. You can kind of just unmute yourself and say it too.
Thanks, Craig.
I was going to say, thank you very much. I think this is one of the least interesting but most useful Kaizens. This is, I think, the heart of what we need to get into.
It is.
I'm gonna circle back to this again, but then Damien brought this up in one of our meetings once, and it kind of hit a strong with me, at least. Like when he was first hired, and then in his interviews, like he actually asked, like, what's the most valuable skill that I can bring to the company? And I think James was the one who interviewed him. James said communication, right? So it's very, very important. And I think this past 4 days was definitely very supportive of this topic, right? Communication is key.
Totally.
One item.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Just gonna add, I didn't realize your whole Kaizen was about me.
No.
Well, it didn't start that way.
But my question, I guess, is, I mean, what did you compile a list of defects that pointed to my team and Jumpstart as the problem, as the root cause, or is that just a guess because we're at the beginning?
Like a start.
This is just a start.
We want to very much like clear the bottleneck in the beginning of the process. That way we can move on to the different downstream or upstream to sales or downstream to drafting later on.
Yeah, we were just identifying that your team is key to a lot of other processes. So how do we help you get it right, you know?
And then as we were looking at the videos that you provided us to, and then also meeting with you time and time again, as you know, Esley, you know, we found out that, you know, a lot of the stuff that you were coming across, you know, was also caused with misinformation from Jumpstart too, right? So how does that information transfer? But we also found out that, you know, if Jumpstart doesn't really have a list or like something, they don't really know what's expected of them, they don't really know what to really provide you with as well. And then that kind of made us realize that it happens a lot with, you know, not just your department, right, but every single department.
Yeah, that was going to be my question, is like expectations, or, you know, what is expected, and also being very realistic too, you know, to make sure that we do get them. Otherwise, if we go crazy with them, then we're going to lose the people.
And you know, the other factor, and Steve had brought this up last week in our management meeting, is how do you bring this stuff up without offending people or making people feel bad? Like, we don't, when we went over that statement in the scope, it was like, we don't want this to sound bad on Esley's team at all. That is not what we're saying. And defect sounds bad. Like, how do you how do you say this in a way that's constructive and is you know, it's a simple thing. This is a step in the process that affects many other processes. And if something happens here, it's just going to have a domino effect. So how do we help this process here get off on the right foot as much as possible? So that's really what we're trying to say.
Yep. Because in the very beginning of our meetings, I actually wanted to tackle the communication between drafting and takeoff, right? But then if we really take a look at it, we decided to just to nip the problem in the beginning and just do like source management. So who's in the beginning is really
the beginning of operations, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's why we also skipped the sales part.
And one of the other things that we talked about that's a factor is, you know, getting die approval. So die approval, in a minimum, you know, this came from Jumpstart team, and you know, as everybody knows, that can take up to 6 weeks. So if we're trying to move things through the process, and Esley's supposed to have stuff done, and we don't even have all the dies approved, and that would be her wish to have all the dies approved, I believe. Esley, correct me if I'm wrong. Is like, how is that even feasible in our timeline? Where do we move things way back? Like, how do we manage just even that technical?
Let's see. Can we get exposure on Team Esley's process on some engineering meeting?
Did a presentation last year, Zoom offsite, and that's posted on YouTube.
So there's the one there, should Team Esley be in the sales to Jumpstart kickoff? And we've talked about that a lot, like getting her informed as early as possible. But I think that's at Esley. You had said, ultimately, you just want to know what the design is. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I don't need to know the histories. I don't need to know the back and forth. It's just, what are we building?
Yep.
And just clarity on what do we build? Because yeah, technically, when it hits me, we're going to move forward to shop drawings, right? So yeah, what are we building? And if it's unknown, let me know it's unknown.
And you have a 10-day turnaround time.
10 to 12 days.
10 to 12 days.
So Esley, I do get it that you have kind of showed us the way, but keep in mind there's new people, and also things do change. I don't know if at the end of the day you invest a little bit of time and you gain a lot by kind of like showing us, you know, when time permits. I know you're super busy, but that way you can tell us, this is the new process, this is what I expect, these are the new forms that need to be filled out, these are the proper way to request. I know you spend a few minutes, and it may save you a lot of back and forth. Just saying.
Well, yeah, so I mean, again, clarity, right? What exactly, because I do like 10 different things. So do you want to know how I clean up profiles? Do you want to know how I make families? Do you want to know how we do transitions? Do you want to know, like, what part of my processes here do people want to know, or is everything that I do? Because I do a lot of stuff. So maybe that too. Clarity on what do you guys want to know, because I do a lot.
Yeah, for us, when we're looking at your process, we're like, oh, should we tackle all three? And then we really just focus at the end of it. We just really want to focus on the profiles, right? Because that's like the very important part of it, because everyone kind of uses a profile. The transitions is more of just like a plus. We never really had transitions in the past, so transition is just there. I mean, it's great, don't get me wrong, and it offers a lot of information, but so we're just really focused on what everyone uses.
Yeah, to me is, how do we communicate with you? How do we coordinate with you? Not so much your process of doing what you do, just how do we communicate with you as of today?
That would be more, do you think that's more like a checklist from, your team, your team, Eduardo, making a checklist, expectation checklist for Team Esley and
drafting?
We can do that, yeah, because I know recently it's, something new was there's a transition request in the Trello. It was fairly new, let's say a month old, give or take. So.
Sorry, no, that's been there since 2017. We created that back in 2017. So yeah.
So that's the miscommunication.
Yeah. So I guess I'm totally welcome. Like I said, that to clear the air of whatever I do. But same thing. Just tell me what you guys want, and I can.
But should Esley should be also a part of your meeting, like the Jumpstart meeting to drafting, because there's one area that Esley, I think, was not part of that meeting. I think the Jumpstart meeting, Esley.
Yeah, I'm not in a lot of Jumpstart meetings. I'm only really when the job is kicked off. And the first real meeting that I'm at is the checklist from PM to operations. That's usually my first meeting on the project. That's like the first time I'm actually seeing drawings, seeing the project. So that's my first kind of official meeting that I'm at on any project.
One of these is, have you looked at the process from converting a sales model into a drafting model to see if either of those processes can adapt to help each other? There's definitely a lot going on in the background about looking at other things as far as modeling and processes. Kind of a big project.
And what mechanisms are there for downstream to upstream feedback? I think this was also tackled from a previous Kaizen group, giving like feedback.
Well, that was takeoff to drafting, but then that's the only
Right.
formal avenue we have. But your whole thing, you're looking at, Jumpstart and setup to drafting.
Yeah.
So I think we need the same thing to do, drafting to Jumpstart or drafting to Team Esley and drafting to sales.
Yeah.
Got from it was just working backwards to
That's
all the way up,
eventually
right?
what we want, but we wanted to focus on the beginning of the operations, So Jumpstart to Esley, then we're gonna move on to Esley to drafting.
It's
blah,
huge.
and then we have to go
So
back
every
to
department.
sales with Jumpstart and Esley type of thing.
The one, does Team Esley need more resources to streamline the process? That's a good question. We talked about that too. That's why we were trying to study the tact time. I believe that's part of that whole thing, is when you're studying something like that, is to determine, are there enough people at that phase, or does it need, for us to meet that goal, do we need more resources? So that's part of what we're also wondering and questioning and talking about.
Yeah.
Well, but then again, clarity on the expectation, right? I've been hitting my 10 to 12 days on every project. So is that not enough? See, that's what I mean. Like, I'm hitting the goal that was set before me on every project, 10 to 12 days. So it's kind of like right now with the resources we have, we're meeting the need.
And that's what we found
That's
out
the
too.
question. If I'm not meeting the need, then I'm not hearing that.
And that's what we found out too when we try to attempt to do the tact time and cycle time study. Like, you were able to meet the tact time, so.
But none of that, we're still saying that there's all these things that we're trying to fix. So it's not, nobody's saying we're not saying the goals aren't being met or the times aren't being met. There's still a lot of problems within that I think we need, or that we're saying we want to fix, right? That's what that one Jamboard was with all the pink stickies was. There's a whole lot of stuff that you're.
A lot of repetitive problems.
Repetitive problems, yeah.
Team Esley need time/resource for check process too, like how a drafter do model checks.
We do have a checking process within that 10 to 12 days.
So I don't think this is really about one team or another. It's about the communications between one team to another team, regardless of whether that team is. This is just where we started.
Yeah.
Because it was the beginning. It's not pointing any fingers at.
No, I'm just trying to answer the questions.
Yeah.
I mean,
Esley has become a part of our group now.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. We weren't planning for it.
So eventually, we're thinking that like I said in my presentation, that between each team, there should be an expectation of what do you need to do your job.
So
A
and
lot of
what is
the
that
problems go down to that.
So I just want to end it with this. Let's not focus on like, oh, Esley's problem here. The problem is the cross between different departments. There need to be clear expectations set, like a checklist or something, and then just hand it down or whatnot. That's it, right?
Yes.
But this is all
At
good
least from us.
feedback because, like I said, if people have defects or problems with my product, I'm not hearing it except for the few, oh, fix this family, fix that family.
I apologize, Esley.
So like this
is not the intention.
No, but I'm just saying it's good. I never hear some of this stuff. That's what for communication, right? So again, that's.
But again, if it's something that's beyond your control, if it's a change that comes from upstream because of an architect designing something, right? Like something can change. Now we have to go back to, I don't know. There's a lot here. But like Eric was saying, he first focused on let's fix this one area, but we saw it was so far downstream from where something might begin. That's why we moved upstream. But it's just there's a long big stream starting from zero.
And it also had to do with like looking at like the amount of responsibilities that there is in for example in your plate. So that's why I also kind of like try to ease it for you a little bit.
Setting everybody up to succeed downstream.
So I've been told that we're kind of running out of time. So
Yes.
let's talk about this communication thing at lunch if we want to chime in some more. Thanks, everyone.
All right, I'll stop share.
All right, everyone, give them a hand. I'm asking you to unmute now.
Thank you.
Woo! Presentation.
Thank you, guys.
I think we all know that communication is the most important.
Yep.
So